Welcome back to the Pixelists podcast, my friends, the podcast about all the nerdy things we love and enjoy. As always, we're your hosts. That's Blake. I'm Will, and we're here today to talk a little campaign 4 of Critical Role. I don't know what that was, so let's just move past it very quickly.
You had a feeling and you went with it. You know, those of you listening to just the audio, you don't know what I'm talking about. But our video peeps on YouTube. He was just following the vibe.
Sometimes you got to. Sometimes you just got to feel it. But how are you doing today, my friend, on this otherwise, ordinary Tuesday, I guess?
It's going okay. I made a big mistake this morning. It's a little fall weather. It's a little cooler out. So I thought I'm gonna rock a hoodie today. And I got to like around 80 degrees and I was playing outside with my kids and I was like, this was a huge mistake.
Yep, dude. So we're from Arkansas, those of you that don't know, and our weather is so bizarre. Like I'm personally, I don't know about you, I'm very much a fall guy, like winter guy. I love busting out the jackets and the hoodies. And it teased us like a couple weeks ago. We were down in like the low 60s, and now we're back in the 80s somehow. And so I feel you. It's irked me.
And we were at the playground, we're at the park, and when I put on the hoodie, I didn't put a shirt on under it because I was like, that's what a cool guy does.
You were trapped,
You rock the hoodie with no shirt underneath. And so because I thought it was a good in between. I don't want to layer up in fall weather.
Yeah.
So, I'm at the park and I can't take the hoodie off.
Can't do it.
So
be in a whole world of trouble.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a guy thing, by the way. This is such like a random segue. I don't know if this is like a guy thing or what this is, but I feel like whenever I am polite to someone else, I always feel the need to let them know I'm not weird or like a creep or a stranger.
Yeah.
And so like, good example, at the park, my two kids are jumping on the swings and I realized there was a little girl, like 2.5, 3, who was moving towards the swing with her mom.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh no, maybe my kids cut this kid off. So I just like kindly, I was like, hey, are you looking to swing? Like to the girl. And the mom goes, it's okay, I'll do it. Which then I was like, internal, crisis of like, oh no, this person thinks that some random dude was offering to swing her child. And so then I was like, but then you didn't want to be like, make it weird. You'd be like, oh, I wasn't really offering. Because then she'd be like, okay. So I just walked away. I just kept walking.
I feel that. I'm sure like she didn't think of it in like the weirdest way. So, but I don't know. I would feel the same way you did.
I feel like I could show up on like one of those like Facebook like neighborhood
Facebook
watch
groups,
watch guy. Yeah. He's prowling around on the playground. So anyway, just give me a message in the comments if anyone's ever felt this way before. So sure. I just get like no comments about it.
They're like, no, you're weird, man. Why'd you say that?
Why did you go on so long about this random bit? Well, how are you today, my friend?
Doing pretty good. Just trying to, keep on keeping on. Doing a little work, getting a little coffee in my blood. And I'm excited to sit down and talk with you today because episode 2, bro. I'm still riding the high of Critical Role being back. New campaign, Brennan Lee Mulligan. Yep. Come on now. I have so for those of you that were with us on our Worlds Beyond Number arc, oh yeah, I've got more comparisons for episode 2. You guys get ready. But something I often did in those discussions was I had to write down little Brennanisms. And so I got a few from this episode where I was like, oh, that's such a good line.
It's not a Brennan. I mean, it's not a line, but it is a Brennanism.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it out there. Sallow-faced. My man Brennan, he likes to use the phrase sallow-faced. Yeah. And it's a great descriptive word. And you can know my next campaign sesh. I'm going to just drop it in.
Yeah.
It's like when you hear a word that you're like, that's a good word.
Yep.
And then you try. Now, you can't do it around your spouse or significant other because they know you. And so they'll call you out on it. They'll be like, where'd you hear that word?
You just learned that?
Yeah, they know. But around total strangers, slip it in. They'll be like, "Ooh, that guy said sallow faced."
Yeah, they're like,
I don't
oh,
know.
so verbose. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. Brennan had some incredible lines that we get into today.
Yep.
Man's pretty good at this. He's
He
pretty good
is
at it.
indeed.
Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't think we have any other announcements other than we have our watch party Thursday night. So episode 3, come check it out. Did we get confirmation that it's last week's gonna be off, by the way?
Oh, I never looked into it, so I don't know.
I think it is, but those of you who are more knowledgeable, you can let us know if
I'd imagine they'd keep that trend
yeah, it
going.
does make sense.
But yeah,
Well,
or go ahead.
I was gonna say either way, so we would have this Thursday, we'd have next Thursday, and then it would be off. Was all I was trying to get at.
Yeah, which would be perfect. Not that this needed to line up, but that would be perfect for finishing the overture and then a break before we go into the mini campaigns. And yeah, like Blake said, watch party every Thursday for the live episodes, which takes place in our Discord. So come join us there. We'd love to expand the critter community. It's been great, especially since they turned off live chats on their other streaming options. So if you're missing that community aspect of watching Critical Role, we would love to invite you into our little fold, which you should be able to find a link to the Discord in the YouTube description below or in the comment section somewhere. You'll find it. But yeah.
And then Friday will be our
live
or our wrap up stream. By the way, our live stream on Friday, 1:00 Central Time. Kind of just wrap up the week. So check that out. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, continue. I was just gonna say, yeah, that's all really I had to say. So we can get into this, and like we mentioned last episode, we're not doing our in-depth recaps anymore. But you might have to help me through this. But for our very, very truncated, 30 to 60-second version, episode 2 was titled "Broken Wing," and we basically shunted back and forth between several different scenes. We had more time with kind of the post-funeral crew, Hal, Taisha, and them, Thimble, who ultimately decide to go investigate what happened to Thimble. Go find out more about these, I want to say Counting Crows, but that's the band.
Crow Keepers.
Crow Keepers, because those are the people who attacked, presumably, those are the people who attacked Thimble. So they decide to go investigate that. We also have some great scenes with Wick and Tyranny back at the Halavar headquarters, the Candescent Creed, finding out more about them and Tyranny's sisters. Tayor, Travis's character, coming to basically look for a job with them. And we'll dive into more of these things, obviously, as we talk about the episode. But just in terms of the recap, we then also had there's one other group. Who am I forgetting right now? We had Sir Julian, Matt's character, with his father. Basically, he's going to investigate or try and find Octus, whom we know that his family is looking for. Priority numero uno. And then was there another? Oh, and then we had Murray and Belair investigating this coffin. We find out a lot about the celestial lore and stuff going on there. So we got several different plot threads all kind of starting to sprout out here. And that's generally what happened in this episode. And now, of course, we'll dive into more unless I missed something glaring that you wanted to add as well.
I feel like if I add anything, this is just going to be a
just
thing
us
every
talking
week.
About something.
Yeah, I'm just like, and to add to that, here's some other things that happen in it. Eventually, we're going to get back to our 15-minute recap. True. So, some of you did mention that you missed the recap, but so I think a little 60-second stinger is kind of a nice little, get us back on the same page. But
yeah, and I'm sure we'll probably this is episode 2. We're still figuring it out. We'll nail it down exactly how we want to do that. But yeah,
let me ask you a challenging question. What did you think about this episode of CR?
I thought it was in poor taste, and I'm probably dropping the series. I didn't know when to bring this news to you. Figured we could kind of sort of have one more episode for old time's sake.
It seems not on air would have been the best time, but sure.
But no, I loved it. I continue to love it. I don't want to just repeat what I said last time, but I think that they've done a great job of just immediately thrusting us into this new world and having me so curious about everything. So I'm having a good time. What about you?
I feel the same way. I
Yeah.
adored this episode. I legit was smiling so many times. Bro, I freaking love these characters.
Yeah.
I love these characters. Everyone is so earnest and just so in their character, and and then Brennan is crushing it.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it, man. It was a fantastic episode. We're still getting so much like scene setting, and I'm so curious about storylines and what could happen here or there, or what's really going on.
Yeah.
So which I'm assuming by the time of this overture ends, which do they say it's 3 episodes or 4?
I think it's 4.
Okay, so we got a couple more.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're gonna have tables determined and immediate plot threads, which there's a handful that are out there. So I'm assuming that 3 of them are going to rise to the top in terms of, and maybe the players are going to decide that. Maybe Brennan has put out like 7 or 8, and we'll just see what. I think Brennan's so great at like seamlessly integrating, and I would not be surprised if Brennan had so many potentials, and then as the players choose, he's going to effortlessly kind of weave these things together, and make them important.
Yeah.
So
This was sort of not really touched on, but he mentioned in the cooldown for this episode that, like, at least specifically in reference to Sam's character, but I believe this to be true of all of their characters, there was like a point, like a character driven, I think, point that they wanted to reach in the overture that then leads into the main story. And so he was saying that, like, the whole Wick tyranny family thing was kind of part of that. So I would imagine that, like, every character kind of has like this moment or this development that the overture is building to, that then leads into these main campaigns. Now, that doesn't necessarily translate to like the main quests they're going to be on. This could be more of just like a characterization thing, but just to what you were speaking to, I think there were certainly benchmarks, I guess, in Brennan's mind that this overture is getting to, and then like the story will go from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, is that a good starting point right there, though? Wick and tyranny in terms of what happened.
I mean, sure. That I feel like that was one of the biggest moments, and obviously the cliffhanger for the episode.
Well,
so yeah, we can just tap in there.
I will say I was bitter. I mentioned this in the stream that I mentioned in the stream I had a piece of content which I am going to still put out around what's going on with Wick, but the whole premise of that was that maybe he was secretly a demon and didn't know it, or something like that, some kind of fiendish creature. And one of the data points I had was he always has tyranny with him to mask. So like Thiazi has like the nail that like burns or something when like a fairy or a demon come.
Right.
And so I thought, well, if it because Wick has tyranny, it'd be like, oh, it's tyranny. But anyway, so all this to say, that isn't what happened, though we did get a pretty crazy revelation, which help me with the details here.
Yeah.
So there is there's the Candescent Creed and this whole religion around like pulling on like the ephemeral essence, like the light that's in all of us, and it's a godless but puristic kind of religion of like doing good and all this kind of stuff, is how Wick perceived it, and presumably how the public also perceives it. And we come to find out that the prismatic resonator.
I have it written down.
This thing that seems to be a we don't know if it's known outside of the Wick's family or not, but this thing is what like pulls this ephemeral energy and like that's how it like all works.
Yeah.
It creates the he called it the filament, right? Like the liquid stuff,
Yeah,
and
the
like
liquid and the
some of
prismatic
it's
retort is the name of the
yeah,
apparatus.
and some of it's missing, right? That was like some of it's been stolen or something. Like was that like one of the data points also?
I don't
Like
think
someone
so, but
oh
it's
okay.
possible I've missed something in a 4 hour runtime, but I didn't catch that. You
I
know
might
more of what
be
you or
I might be mixing this up with Julian what's his last name?
Divinos.
Divinos, who I think they were saying that like a supply thing never made it somewhere, but that was the
Yes.
other data point around
Yes.
the one that was part of this scheme to get the Yazi out.
Right.
Anyway,
I think so.
I'm
We'll
I'm
we'll
probably
talk.
mixing some
We'll
things
talk
up.
about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So whether or not filament's missing, who it doesn't matter, but so that's part of the tattoo. So it is like physically used in like you're like, oh, geez, like what all do they use it for?
Yeah.
But we come to find out that this prismatic retort down underneath the house, what's the last name? Halavar, the
Halavar.
Halavar
Yeah.
home. Deep beneath it, big guard dogs, insane lore driven, like how Brendan described these guard dogs, and then a sarcophagus inside a being tortured and effectively bled angel who Wick's grandmother says, "Here's your grandfather."
Yeah.
So, did I miss anything, or is this? and dad is Cyclops too,
Yeah.
from X-Men.
No, yeah, that's definitely the highlights.
Okay.
They're bleeding out this celestial, and that's where the filament is coming from. Which for those of you that watched uh, the previous Role campaigns, specifically C1 and C3, very much reminded me of Residuum. This filament. It's basically this like ultra powerful magical resource. They said that it helps with rituals, it helps with spell casting, it can also like empower people, like the tattoos. So yeah, I'm curious on the like kind of what came first, the chicken or the egg here. I'm assuming that like did they capture this celestial and then build this entire religion in order to kind of not justify but like mask what it is they were doing, like, you know what I mean, like, oh, we have this celestial blood but we can't really explain that it's celestial blood, so the light, and we've condensed this from the universe, like, was that the order of operations, or was there already, like, could there actually be like a true religion here that they've kind of hijacked?
I think Sam really enjoyed FCG, like being this automaton that had like this religious affinity, and I could see Sam the player enjoying that thread enough to continue to pull on it, especially since FCG never fully got to realize some of those details never came to fruition
Yeah.
for FCG. So I could see Sam wanting, like, having like an arc of like, no, like there has to still be, like, I felt the light. I know there's a light, like and there being some quest around that. But to your previous comment, I feel like there's no scenario where there is not like some malicious, like, I mean, it's too cut and dry that, man, we have all the celestial blood. We can't really, I mean, it just makes so much sense that you would make up a religion around it. So, I mean, the question I have is the grandfather a metaphorical grandfather or a literal grandfather?
I think literal.
Okay.
That was my original assumption, and then based upon just comments in the cooldown, Brennan didn't, like, they made sex jokes and stuff about like the small grandmother and this 40-foot tall celestial.
That's what I was trying. Yeah, well, yeah. Then I was like, is the grandmother? Is this like a different form? Is she like? That's exactly what I was trying to process. And then like, the father. Why does the father not have sight? Is like, what's going on there? And then why does Wick not seem to have any kind, like, because the thought I had was like, is this like a genealogical thing? Like celestial and human have a baby, but he's forever scarred in the sense of like eyes shoot out golden light. I don't know.
I don't think
Yet
that's the
Wick.
case. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know, but I have some thoughts on those things. But so first thing, I think it truly is grandfather because again, like they were making jokes and
Okay.
stuff, and Brennan could have stepped in and been like, "Oh, I didn't mean literal grandfather," but he
Yeah.
didn't say anything like that. So I think
You
it is
better
like his
stop making
literal
that joke.
grandfather. Yeah.
Stop making that joke. We're done with that.
But as far
So,
as the
okay.
eyes thing, to me, I think that's not symbolic because I think it's literal. So what's the word I'm looking for? I think that's indicative of the father being so far down this path, perhaps even a certain amount of filament he's consumed or transformed his body with.
Mm,
And the reason I think that is because there was a detail that those guard dogs also had their eyes covered.
yes. Right.
So I think to me those guard dogs were clearly like filament infused as part of them guarding this area. So to me the connection there to me was like okay, like some level of filament or maybe it's like an intentional procedure like removes he still has his eyes, he doesn't have his eyelids anymore, but yeah, very Cyclops, like he can't not produce light if they're not covered. So I think that's my assumption on what's going on, and I would assume the same is true of those dogs.
I thought the angel also was like, I'm going to call it a very biblical description of an angel. Because it wasn't like Heroes of Might and Magic 3 angel, like, I'm here, like instead, I think he described like multiple rows of teeth or
Yeah,
something, like something horrific sounding.
yeah, it was awful, and like all the feathers had been plucked from the wings and stuff. Like just, ee.
Or just, I mean, fell off from being in a literal tomb for, I mean, how many years, right? It's been 70 years. So,
True.
okay, so what are the implications of this? Like, so clearly the gods were killed. Um, I'm assuming this celestial was captured. Don't think he probably like willingly, yes, I will choose to be tortured for, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, clearly not that. But
Okay,
what
you
makes
never
this?
know. For the good of the Candescent Creed, I will be.
Yeah, he did it, but now
No.
he just regrets it. But
Yeah.
he at least willingly did it. Yeah. Well, what makes that super like that would be just the question no matter what. But what makes that even more interesting is the fact that it's his grandfather.
Right.
So like let's say pre Shaper War, before they rebelled against the gods, is this when
Oh, yeah.
Grandma and Celestial got together? Like were they actually in like a loving relationship? And
Hmm.
then they kind of got fractured because of this war against the gods? Or like what's the timeline there? You know what I mean? Like it, it it surely couldn't have happened afterwards because the lore we got from Murray and Belair in the episode when they were investigating the coffin, we find out that's a celestial coffin. Well, we it is. We don't know if it literally is, but that's like what it was meant to be. Like whether or not there's literally
No.
a celestial halfling in there, we don't know, but that's what it
Right.
was presented as.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and during that, Brennan gives us this lore of basically after the gods were killed, the Celestials went berserk because they're obviously
Hmm.
connected to the gods, and they basically like they had to be dealt with. Basically, they had to be like exterminated because they were such a threat and a
Yeah.
problem.
They were like feral, is
Yeah.
what he said. Okay.
So
I forgot about that.
yeah.
Maybe that's
So
why he also like howls, and like screeches.
yeah. Well, that could also
Um,
just be the torture, but it's probably both.
I don't know, man.
But
All right,
so
continue.
maybe maybe they were in a amicable relationship before the god war. The gods are killed. Maybe he goes crazy, and so maybe they capture him as opposed to kill him because there used to be like a loving relationship there, and then somehow they figure out, oh, this blood, we could do stuff with this. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, maybe it was like, yeah, well, I don't want him to get killed, so let's just like maybe lock him down here. And then, hey, by the way, this stuff's actually pretty good. This juice is pretty good.
Yeah. It's tough because like it's hard to give them the benefit of like the empathy angle of like, oh, let's not kill them because what they're doing is far worse. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely doing that though. I think Grandma can't be all that bad. They were, you know, they were lovers, not fighters. I mean, absolutely could have been something much darker of, there was a fling between the two of them, and then when the gods were killed, grandmother saw an opportunity. Just knowing how like Game of Thrones esque the houses are,
mhm.
I could see grandmother being like, man, if the gods are dead, like what's most valuable? Anything left over from the gods. Like there will
Yeah,
never be more of it. And so I could see some like incredible power angle there as well.
yeah, yeah,
So but here's the interesting thing is to what ends? Like what I mean, is it like a religious power play? Like we're so godly is not the right word. That's more like Christian-fied, but like we're so like powerful and we have the light and like is it a power play or like because I'm also wondering like the angle of the demons. Like why is Tyranny and her sisters there and seemingly working with, especially because there is no like aspirant relationship. They're not, how it was presented in episode 1 was like we're trying to get away from our tendencies, and
yeah,
Sam even like gets onto them for talking in demon, like that's the old you. We're putting away the old you. So I just what's the real role of the demons? Any guesses there?
yeah. I would power. I would assume. It seems like they probably have their own plan
Mm,
that the Halavars don't know about. I would imagine. Like, yes, they think they're all on the same page, but they're not doing that out of the goodness of their heart. I'm sure. So like, maybe it's even the demons that originally like helped teach or facilitate how to like utilize this celestial blood. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's work together on this. And so maybe like a kind of a tenuous thing was built. But I do imagine there's like a double cross there with the demons. Maybe that's too easy to point to, but I think they're only temporarily aligned. Um,
okay, I
but
could see that.
in terms of the Halavars themselves, I definitely think it's a pure power play. Like, yeah, we've got this. Whether or not the celestial blood predated the religion, they're just using the religion as a vehicle to gain power, right? And I mean, the grandma pretty much says as much that like the not
Ticonus
what's
house.
Octus's name, his family's name.
Ticonus.
The
Ticonus.
Ticonis is like they're our ally, but they're primed to stab us in the back. Like they're making all these moves, so like we got to make moves. So it feels very Game of Thrones. Like this is our path to try and get our power or our place in the world. So yeah, like,
Hmm.
but like beyond just that obvious statement of what they're doing, I don't know what they're actually trying to do. Like obviously religion can be a very powerful tool, so like maybe they've just recognized that and they're like, yes, let's use this, and we'll gain our political power this way. Or if there's something else there. But I do like the whole position Sam's character has in this of having originally been just like a true believer, because I think the grandma stated like we wanted to keep our scion out of the darkness. Like they intentionally kept him out of the loop on these things. But now it's just
Yeah,
reached a
because
point where he like needs to know.
he's like not like the Pope, but like he's not like one of many like people who go out and like he is like their guy, right? Who like
I don't know.
okay.
I think if not like in official title, in purpose at least, because he's a member of like the actual
Mm.
family and he's like the religious facing one, I guess.
This is a pretty big gamble by House Hall. Like I kind of wondered if they were going to kill Sam like in this episode
Yeah.
and be like, "Well, we failed you. Sorry, kid." Which fortunately
Whoops.
didn't happen. But how old is Wick? He's like in
He
his
said
early
he was like
20s.
late 20s, I think.
Okay.
Which
It's a
actually,
pretty
or go ahead.
well, that's pretty long-standing lie.
Yeah.
It's a be in the dark on.
Yeah. And this is reminding me of something Brennan said in the cooldown is so Sam didn't know any of this. The player Sam.
Oh, I
Um
was curious about that because sometimes like as a
yeah.
DM, you have players who like they don't give like the whole story, but it's like, hey, my origin story is up to this big
Yeah.
moment. And sometimes the DM will have that moment happen to like set off the journey. Or yeah, anyway, I was wondering that though.
Tyranny did. So Whitney
Mm,
knew all of this, which kind of speaks to if you
yeah,
look back on some of their interactions in the first two episodes, like
yeah.
um so she knew. Well, I lost my train of thought. Oh, Brennan basically said that like kind of what happened with Sam's character is like he was kind of just a patsy. Like,
Mm.
oh, our dumb son, like he'll like we'll keep him out of this. He'll just, he can go on believing. But like basically it was like, oh, actually like he's not like a problem, but like he's not an idiot. Like I can't remember what the exact example they gave, but I think it was like Sam being like, "Why did we kill Thiazi? Like that only hurts us. Like we said we wouldn't, and we did. Like what's going on here?" And they're like, "Okay, we need to bring him in on the fold. Like he can be a much better, I guess, player, actually knowing everything." So like that's kind of the vibe of the situation, I guess. Like they were, I guess, trying to just keep him out and innocent and do his little Pope thing, but they're like, no, we actually can better be served if he's, our propagandist, I guess.
Well, and how much better for Sam and Travis for Taor to link up now because there
Yeah.
does seem to be, especially if Wick realizes there's no truth to his religion at all. We had the data point of him being like, "Oh, here's this paladin. He does wield the light. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Like what power is he drawing on?" So I could see like a little personal journey of like to speak to even more irony. What if he becomes the aspirant of
Yeah.
Taor?
Yeah.
You
I was
know?
thinking that too. I was like, that seems like a really cool place they could go. Like, um, to me, like, I mean, who knows what Sam's choices are going to be? Like, obviously, he's literally lived like almost 30 years of his life believing something, and that just all shattered. So, like, maybe a lot of coping and bargaining before he tries to, discover any new paths. But I certainly think Taor's a great option for being like, well, wait, you use the light. What's going on with you? So I think that'd be cool.
You mentioned House Taconis, and we know Octus. I think we know is a necromancer. His
Yes.
dad, his dad seems like a baddie.
Yes.
Brennan described like shadows lengthening, room getting dark, ancient magic
Mm-hmm.
before Daddy Taconis walks in, and I mean, very like Dark Lord vibes.
Yeah.
So it feels like all these houses are pretty bad.
Yeah. Feels like
But
they're all just doing whatever they can to grasp power,
mhm. Immediate takes on House Taconis, Octus, his dad. His dad's obviously looking for Octus. Other people are looking for Octus.
Yeah.
Seems like there was a pretty big leak around this escape plan that has implicated Octus,
Yep.
which we suspected as much in our last discussion of I think someone probably was in on this plan,
Mm-hmm.
or hijacking the plan. Um, what's your take on Dad Taconis here? I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely like
vampire.
Sith Lord
I
vibes
mean,
for sure. Like,
yeah.
knowing Brennan, it's not going to be like he's pure evil, but like definitely probably evil and, only power hungry, fighting for, getting their bigger slice of the pie. And again, to go back to what I don't remember her actual name. I'm just keep calling her the Photarch, which I think is her title, but Sam's grandma of the Halavar
Yes.
family. Basically, one of her biggest motivations is that the Taconises are up to stuff. So like, and they're bleeding out a celestial in the basement. So what are the Taconises doing,
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I especially since that was like that scene of him arriving was in conjunction with like this dean of the school being ousted and the Taconis guys being escorted in by the new dean. Like he definitely feels on the wrong side of history with everything that's happening right now. Which I want to talk about those subjects as well. Um, but yeah, it definitely seems like Octus is not estranged, but he definitely seems like he's not aligned with his family. And I mean, obviously, I guess because he's seemingly in hot water for being a part of the plan to save Thiazi, which Thiazi is very clearly revolutionary and against all of these established houses. So one of the things it made me wonder is like, how did Octus get radicalized? I guess away from what he would have surely been indoctrinated to believe his entire life. Um,
Saved his life, right? Didn't Thiazi save his life?
oh, did he save Octus's life?
I think so. I think
Well,
there was.
that would make sense then.
I think there was a data point in episode 1 around about Thiazi saving Octus's life, um, which presumably is why Octus felt compelled to return the favor.
Okay.
And Octus is also this quasi protege of
Taisha.
Taisha, thank you. And whether that probably came after Thiazi saved his life, since the relationship was already there with Taisha.
Yeah, probably what got him kind of into the group.
Yeah. But there's a manhunt for him. And I don't know if he realizes that that's the case.
I don't think he does.
Yeah, okay. Because I would say there's not much urgency around him, but I can see that being a pretty sticky thing.
Yeah, he disguised self, but I think that was more so just because he is a Taconis and like isn't trying to get that notoriety, I guess. And maybe it's somewhat because he's running around with Tiazi's crew, but I don't think he knows explicitly like how much heat's on him right now.
Right.
Which I think he might have mentioned this in the cooldown. I can't remember, but Alex Ward, the Octus's player, mentioned he hadn't been home in 5 years. So like he's been kind of alienated from his family for a while now.
Okay, I did not realize that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Okay.
So I think he probably said it in the cooldown then, because I was like, oh, okay, that's a detail.
I thought maybe he had like snuck out of the home that morning to like go to the funeral and should probably get back, but that makes more sense. Yeah, if he's a bit, there's an issue there. But I was gonna say something else. I was going to move away from this unless you had more to say about it.
We can move away from this, but there is one thing I wanted to touch on the Halavar stuff that I remembered before we move on to something completely new. And that is the filament is this celestial blood, powerful magical essence, essentially. And we know that it was being shipped because there was the accident at the start of the episode that injures a worker that Teor comes and heals. It was filament in those barrels because it like leaks out and like burns them or something.
Oh, that might be what I'm thinking of, by the way. Because I knew there was like a shipment or something that something had happened. Okay, continue though.
So we see a caravan of this leaving the Halavars, and it's an offhanded comment about like it's going. I think it's called Caravan Hill. Caravan Hill. So that shipment of filament is going to Caravan Hill. We don't know why, but that's again a very expensive, precious resource that's being shipped there for some reason. And then we know that Caravan Hill is where Thimble and them are going. That's where they are at the end of the episode. That's where they're going to hunt down the Crow Keepers. So I don't really have anything to make of point A and point B right now, but I thought it was interesting. So like clearly like something's happening at Caravan Hill.
They're up to no good. Well, I mean, what do you? Yeah, I mean, it's very. I mean, it's like you said, residuum, but also you think about in C3, it reminds me of the crates. I think it was residuum, or no, it was the dunamancy vials, the dunamantic liquid, and like so they were obviously planning something massive with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you wonder, what's going on here? What are they planning with it?
Yeah.
So.
Intriguing.
Well, go ahead.
You think you said you had somewhere else to take us?
I was just going to say, we were talking about estranged fathers, and I thought there was another estranged father and son in this episode.
Yes.
Matt Mercer's character, Julian Divinos, and his father, General. I think that was his title, General.
I think so.
I don't remember his first name, but
Raymond.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm curious about like his status and positioning. Now we know General Raymond was allied with Thiazi, and I think that's what Julian was referencing of like you threw our name in the mud. You have these other houses, Taconis and Halavar, that are just massive. And there's an incredible moment between the two of them of, his dad being like, you got your glory. Like, why do you hate Thiazi so much? And I think said that Thiazi had saved Julian's brother or cousin. Said he had saved someone's life. Like, we owe him that person's life as well.
I remember what you're talking about, but I don't really remember exactly.
Okay. But fought together. His dad and Thiazi fought together in the War of Axe and Vine, which was this war that happened after the Shaper War that killed the gods. So at the end of this war happens. They're friends, and then Thiazi goes and forms the rebellion, which I think that is the Torn Banner, right? Or was that part of the entourage within the War of Axe and Vine?
I don't know.
Because
the
only thing I was wondering about this was it makes sense to me that that was the rebellion, but you'd also wonder, like, why are these people not in jail? Like, why is Loza Blade and like the episode opened up with a battle scene, and so like all of those people from the Torn Banner were present. So I couldn't remember. I just couldn't place like where is this rebellion or is this Axe and Vine?
I don't have a good answer for you because I haven't pieced it all together yet either. But there were two conflicts, as it were. So I think at one point all of these people fought together on the same side, and then there was a rebellion where presumably fighting also took place. But I don't know if the Torn Banner is that first group or the second group. Sorry,
okay.
Got something in my eye. But yeah, at the very least, we know that the Torn Banner isn't looked upon fondly because that's what the Photarch says at the start of the episode, that Teor was part of the Torn Banner, like there are enemies.
Right.
But yeah, it is interesting that if that was the rebellion, why, like, was it just part of the peace deal? Like, how did the rebellion end? You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, oh, yeah, y'all did that, but don't do it again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, and I also wonder, like, how much time has passed between Thiazi being captured and being executed? Like, was the last battle 2 weeks ago, or has he been in like a prison for 5 years, and he's now been, called to be executed? Because that would also make a little bit more sense too, if like these other members of his crew aren't like being actively pursued, or arrested. So
I also, and again, this is pure speculation on my point. I also could see it being a thing where like War Against the Gods, where maybe a lot of people fought. Was the War of what, Axe and Vine? Is that what you said? And what was that again? Or we don't know exactly.
We don't know the details.
Okay.
Some war that happened. If Shaper War was 70 years ago, I think Axe and Vine was like maybe in the last 30 years is my guess. And then the rebellion was like in the last 5 years, but I don't exactly know.
Okay. Because like maybe there was like a big rebellion, and then that like ended somehow, and then even post that, now Thiazi has just been up to his antics, but it's not the rebellion, as it were. He is a rebel, but like maybe there was a rebellion and that war ended.
Yeah.
Like that's done now, and maybe that's what the Torn Banner was from. And it's like, well, we ended that. Like that's the past, and now just Thiazi's up to his antics still, but it's not necessarily the rebellion.
It's like people who like identify as like Confederates in the U.S.
Yeah,
where it's like, buddy, it's been 200 years.
Yeah, come on.
Like let's take that flag down,
please.
So.
Okay, so Julian, I did want to talk about this because this is so interesting. This is such a great like character scene.
Oh man,
yes,
powerful, so good.
So I'm gonna walk through this again and see if I'm tracking the same way you were. The Divino's house. We're not saying they were equal in power to people like the Halavars and the Taconises, but they were one of the houses. Let's call it. So Julian, as the prodigal son, is set to inherit this house. Like, he's going to be one of the noble leads, blah, blah, blah. But because his father fosters this friendship with Thiazi, who goes on to become this very bad criminal, rebel, that kind of. And his father seemingly won't break that friendship. He seemingly chooses Thiazi over like the honor of his house. Their house gets kind of thrown into the mud. It's not disbanded or anything, but they're like, y'all are moving down the totem pole, basically. So he resents his father very much for this. And that seems to be like the seed of hatred. Like, you threw away our house for this orc rebel. Like, why would you do that? Which probably then informs him being the one to go and capture Thiazi against most likely his father's wishes, clearly. Also, Aranessa's wishes, who Julian seems to, if not love, really care about. So that puts him kind of at odds with all the people he loves in his life, but he thinks he's doing the right thing and restoring honor to his house, which has caused this rift now between him and his father. Which these are two of the Brennanisms I talked about earlier. Or actually, one of them is a Matt and then a Brennan. Let me just find it. Because they're talking about like choices people make, and so Matt says, yeah, every man makes their choices. I'm sorry that I was the consequence of his. And at first I didn't know what he meant by that, but then as the episode went on, I'm assuming what he means by that is like, because I'm the one that brought Thiazi in, I'm suffering the consequences of being like at odds with everyone in my life I love. Like, even though I'm getting lauded by some people as this hero, like my relationship with my father is splintered, Arnessa is splintered, yada yada yada. I don't know if that's what he meant by that.
Yeah, I think it's like a pairing. Yeah, it's like a pairing of self-pitying and bitterness of like, who I am today is because of the choices my father and Thiazi have made.
Yeah.
It's very much like laced with bitterness, I think.
Yeah. And then the kind of answer to that, which comes a bit later in the scene, where Brennan says, men do make their own choices, and maybe one day you'll take an interest in why they make those choices. And I was like, ooh, he's so right. Because like and I'm sure it's deeper than this, but Julian probably never has wondered, like, why would my father throw away our honor to befriend Thiazi? It definitely seems like he's never really examined that. Because there's probably a pretty good reason. Hence all of like the evil corruption that we're seeing in these first two episodes. So it seems like Raymond is one of the good ones,
Well, I mean, he's like, I would say one of the good ones. Like when
not
you
like
watch
he's
a movie,
like a good guy beyond reproach, but I just mean in terms of like the evil like oligarchs that are clearly trying to consolidate as much power as possible versus like the rebellion that's trying to do something about it.
The dad is like the tortured soldier trope of like, PTSD, becomes a father, and you find out like towards the end of the movie, like, oh, that's why he's a douchebag.
Yeah.
But you probably didn't have to like punch your son.
Yeah.
There's like, it's like, for example, when he like throws the pitcher of water in Julian's face, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're really building bridges with your son here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm very intrigued by Matt's character. And also just that back and forth between the two of them. I feel like as a DM, if one of my players like made a line like, I'm sorry, I'm the consequence or whatever, I wouldn't have that awesome talk back. I would just be like, yeah, sorry too. And I just wouldn't even know what to say. So it's watching the two of them. I think even in that dialogue, the camera like cut in to like their side by side shots.
Yeah.
They have an awesome chemistry,
They
and
do.
I'm really keen to see where that relationship of the father son ends up going. And I'm already rooting for a redemption angle for Matt's character.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe he just goes full blown,
No, I agree. I feel like, and not that it's scripted or anything like that, but I feel like that's where this is going. Like, and I can just see it being so emotional and so good. Where like, and again, not that it's clear cut, black and white, but like Julian discovering the why of what Thiazi did and agreeing with it at some point, and then having to wrestle with the fact that in some ways he's the one responsible for his death, which would not only give him a better understanding of Thiazi, which would then give him a better understanding of Aranessa and why she loved him, but would also give him a better understanding of his father and why he befriended him and threw everything away for him.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. Julian Davinos reminds me of two characters who
We
I
got
love them both. I just blanked on the name. Jamie Lannister.
oh
So
yes, yes,
big vibes of
almost
him.
really good parallel with like the Kingslayer
Yeah.
aspect. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Great comment. And then the second one, Sawyer from Lost.
yes. When you said two characters, I was like, I'll bet one of them Sawyer.
Yeah. I mean, just character you hate, and then like after a handful of episodes, you're like, I'm rooting for this guy.
That's like my favorite.
Right?
That's like my favorite character in a show is the Sawyer
Yeah.
archetype. Um, I don't know if you've seen it, but it also reminded me of blanking on his name just like you did. Oh gosh, Zuko from Avatar, The Last Airbender. He kind of starts as an antagonist, but becomes one of the good guys, if you will.
One of the fan faves.
Yeah, so I can totally see that type of arc for him, and I think it would be good if so. But we'll see where the story drives us.
Yeah.
Oh, and one okay, not that needs to be the last point, but another point I wanted to say on him was in episode 1. You know, we're wondering, is he in love with Arnessa, and that's why he's like this. But then, which I think would make a lot of sense, and it could also explain his descent into debauchery, which I don't think we need an additional explanation. It could just be because of everything we've already talked about with Julian. But if he's got this like super big unrequited love, maybe that's why he's going to the brothel every night and getting drunk. He's like, the girl I love, I'm never gonna be with, so let me just go crazy. I think that would clock, but I started to wonder. I don't know if they're the same generation, because if Thiazi was friends with his dad, and Arnessa was married to Thiazi, is she like
That's a good point.
40 years older? I mean, and you know, not that age differences make that big of a deal in a D&D campaign where we have races who go crazy. I mean, assuming everyone's an adult people, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, even if they are like 10, 15 years apart, like he could still love her.
Yeah,
but part of me wondered, like, are they like 40 years apart? No, I don't know.
I'm basically his grandmother. So I don't know. I feel like since that platonicness has not been defined at all, I'm more inclined that there is like an unrequited love angle there.
Yeah.
I love that you called it the descent into debauchery. Like it's going back to Sawyer. Sawyer was like this womanizing, but it was all stemming from like self-hatred. It was just a very amazing character. And I could I like that you pointed out that data point, because I could see that being part of like this thread on, ultimately, again, I hope, Julian finding his honor and his own worth. And because there is kind of this unspoken, his dad points it out. I think Aranessa maybe even points it out in the first episode, but he did the most like glory filled action of bringing Thiazi to justice. And yet he's not wearing medals. He's not, in a parade. He's at a brothel. He's drunk. It's interesting, which maybe that's also part of it too, is, maybe he's also bitter that he hasn't gotten more. Like his dad saying, you got your honor, you got your glory. And maybe he feels like, well, no, I should have gotten more. Like because we have that interaction with like the random person at Thiazi's execution, where he makes the comment of like, not everyone remembers the details of history, but clearly you have, like, well done, which to me implies him being angry that he didn't get he didn't get a statue, basically.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it definitely feels like a very complicated thing for him.
Yeah.
Which,
well,
go ahead.
I'm going to move us away from this, but if you had a final thought.
Just bringing it back, very similar to Jamie and the title of Kingslayer, because like everyone in the show like lauded him for that, but he kind of hated it. And it doesn't seem like at this point Julian hates the fact that he brought in Thiazi, at least not outwardly, or that's something he's not wrestled with yet. But I do think that that could end up being the case, or maybe even
Mhm.
already is the case, but he doesn't know how to
Mhm.
reconcile that yet.
Well, we're about to clock an hour. I feel like we have so much to cover still. Um, let's move away from this. Let's go to oh man, I don't know if you want to take a stab at one, but we
Uh,
have like the funeral crew, we have Azune, which and then we have like what's happening there.
yeah, yeah,
We have the Pentevrel with Murray and what's happening there,
yeah.
which those two things could probably be talked about together, but
Let's
um
at least let's do Murray and Belair real quick. Um,
okay. Yeah, with the coffin.
yeah, and then we can kind of
Okay.
launch into the Pentevrel stuff too. Um, but so yeah, they're investigating this coffin, which again, a celestial halfling. Basically, the role of this celestial halfling was to ferry people, like post death, which has been a very big theme so far in this story, because the
Mhm.
stone that Valus is looking for had like a similar role in terms of
Yes.
helping people to the afterlife or whatever. So there's
Right.
seemingly something there in and of itself.
Right.
Um, but what's interesting to me is, why did Thiazi have this, and what was he planning to do with it?
And why was
Um,
the password thimble? Is obviously precious enough that he didn't want anyone to open it
I
other than
forgot that the
someone he
password was
trusted.
Thimble.
Yeah, the password was thimble.
So he put some sort of
Um,
arcane lock on this thing.
mhm. Again, presumably because he didn't want anyone else to open it, like it was
Right.
too valuable. So seems like not just a random artifact that goes, it belongs in a museum, though
Mm-hmm.
that's where it eventually goes.
Which,
Um,
you know who says that, right?
Indiana Jones.
Oh, true. Yes, that is the correct answer. But you know who else says that as an homage to that? From Hearthstone,
Oh, Reno Jackson.
who is played
Who's
by.
Travis Willingham.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, we did it. We
um,
got there.
um, yes. Okay. And remind me. Okay, because we know that Thiazi in his last moments told Hal, tell Thimble not to be scared. Help Murray. Belair's got the paint. He didn't say anything about
Mhm.
that box, did he?
Uh, I don't think so.
So where did the box come in? Who?
I thought the box was like one of his possessions,
It was just
either
at the house.
because like the deed. I don't think Wick brought it. Wick just brought the sword,
I
or did Wick bring
No, I don't
the
think he brought
sword
it.
and
No,
okay.
I don't think so. But and I can't remember where I think I don't know if it was in the cooldown or if it was in the episode somewhere, but I feel like Abria mentioned, like, I had that box for weeks and never touched it, and then
Hmm.
ended up touching it at the funeral, which obviously it wasn't open, so she, because Thimble hadn't been said, but so maybe she had it, and I guess Thiazi got it to her, and she was meant to bring it to. I
Mhm.
guess we don't know who she was supposed to bring it to, because it probably wasn't Hal, because Thiazi wouldn't have been dead at that point. I don't know. Um, anyway, that's kind of irrelevant to the greater point I wanted to get to, which is what was his plan for this thing. Which now we know that Celestials went berserk. So the first thought I had was like, well, okay, I have two thoughts, because my thoughts changed when we found out about the Celestial in the basement in the Halavar's estate. My first thought, which I still think could be something here, was that Celestials went crazy after the gods died, were a big problem. If you're a rebel trying to take down the current powers that be, uh, maybe having a celestial on your side would be a great weapon at your disposal. Now, whether or not you can control that, different story. But like, maybe that's what it was. Like, this could help us in our endeavors. And the connective tissue here, because this is a coffin, it's a dead celestial at best, is Octus Taconis, who would have been with Taisha, who was, I think, in presence of the box. Like, maybe Thiazi's plan was that Taconis boy is a necromancer. Could we perhaps raise a celestial and then be able to control it, because he would be controlling it? Um, That's all I got.
I like the connective tissue.
Yeah.
It feels too cavalier, I guess. Like I could just see, and Noctis, if you'll just like revive this thing, and then Noctis being like, these things are like pretty bad, right? Like pretty feral. And be like, it's all good. I don't really see for seemingly how well strategized and intentful the Ozzy steps were. I don't know if it was that, but it does seem like there's something. This doesn't seem like a random box. There had to be
Yeah.
some plan with it. And I also wonder too, the box wasn't trapped, right? In the sense of like that was just like the natural essence of it
Yeah, I
that
don't know.
knocked
Because it
out
was
Taisha.
trapped, but like, was that like an intentional trap that Thiazi put, or was that just based upon like the dark magic that exists with a celestial corpse?
Well, that's kind of that's what I mean. Is like, and I the mask was that like something. It's very Egyptian sarcophagus vibes
Mm-hmm.
of like opening it up and like it releases whatever that kills people, whatever. So I don't know if it's like inspired from that or if, like you just mentioned, was there something external to like knock out Taisha or whoever like messed with it? And more importantly, the mask that they saw in it,
Mm-hmm.
was that like a visual trap to convince to be touched, or can that be brought back at some point? I guess
Yeah.
is really what I'm getting at, because it like dissolved. There's just like smoke billowing out, and there's like this goo or like
Yeah.
something in the box now.
What's in the box? Um, I think it
But we
was trapped. I think it's fair to say it, call it
okay.
that, because, again, I think this was mentioned at some point in the episode. Maybe it was the cooldown. I don't think they talked about this in the cooldown though. But Brennan kept mentioning that like this coffin is not ancient. Like this was only recently created, and recently could still be like the last 30 years or maybe last year for all I know. But he made a specific point to say like this isn't some ancient like sarcophagus that was born out of the archaeological dig site. Like this is something that was constructed. So to me that means like somebody made this, and again, if we're assuming that a celestial corpse is in there or whatever, probably a very powerful artifact, if nothing else. So maybe they created this to help protect it, and that was like a trap to prevent people who don't know what they're doing from messing with things. I don't know.
The other thing with that too is we got a great little nugget of when they were looking at that mask. We had Bolaire mention.
Yes.
They said, "Hey, yeah, years ago I touched a mask just like this,
Yeah.
and it's forever stuck to my face."
Yeah, been on my face ever since. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. Which that could just be to cite back to what we were talking about earlier, kind of like a plot thread that Brennan has put forth to lead that table when they start. But yeah, like so, citing back to like the Egyptian analogy, could this mask be indicative of some society or race or whatever we want to call it that all has their own plans, that has kind of gotten Belair for whatever reason and now is attached to this coffin as well?
Mm. Coming back to a lore detail about this celestial, and you mentioned it. Whenever we had the description of the Stone of Night Song, what was said was that I can't think of her name. Not Selesna.
Valus? Oh,
Valus is
the
God,
god's
though.
name?
Yeah, S something. That part of the pact with the elves was when someone dies, they go to the underworld, and implication there, it's not great. It's just a real bad place. But part of the pact with the elves was that a celestial would ferry them past the land of the dead into paradise. I'm not. I can't remember exactly how Brennan described like what was next after that. Well, here we have a very similar description of this celestial, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought, is the implication here that every domain or like every race or like whatever, however the people groups are oriented, had their own deity, and or because like this would be the first time in D&D history like the drow have Lolth, where there's like certain races that have like their deity.
Yeah.
But by extension, did every domain, is what I'll call it, have their own celestial? Or is the implication that this halfling celestial was the Stone of Nightsong one that
I don't
ferried the
think so.
elves?
I
Okay.
don't think so. I think your first thing was probably more what was going on. Just because again we know that there were 7 shapers, the gods basically, and we at least know that the orcs were created by the god of war. So to
Right.
me that means there's probably more than 7 races on Aramon, but they're probably like one of the gods probably created each of the races. You know what I mean? So like, and I looked it up. Salandri was the god's name you were looking for.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
Salandri created the elves the same way the god of war created the orcs. So whichever of the shapers created the halflings, probably this was the celestial that they gave the ferryman powers to, for lack of a better word.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a bit more sense to me, of it being like, hey, we all agree that the underworld's a real bad place,
Yeah.
but we're each gonna cover our people. By extension, that same conversation, there was a detail around of the veil, or what was like the language here?
Yeah.
Like a veil, was it the veil between our world and the underworld?
I think it's
Or
yeah,
the under
I think it's the same concept, but just called different
Okay.
things. Like so let's call it Hades, let's call it the underworld. I think that is the veil.
Oh, okay.
And like
Yes.
I think that most like souls can get trapped there, I guess, but souls have to pass through that veil to get to the
Yeah.
afterlife.
Yes.
And there do seem to be different afterlives based upon your god,
Yeah.
which is,
But
common in D&D as well.
the little lore drop given here was that there's um different theologies around what has become of those souls
Right.
in the underworld,
Right.
that they were,
And
some
and
say that,
even in the afterlives.
yes,
Because like
yes,
did those disappear when the gods were killed?
exactly. And
Yeah.
so I think what was said from Brennan was like, there's a theory that they were all destroyed. There was a theory that they're still like maybe forever trapped,
Yeah.
which this very much felt like an episode 85 kind of, we're going to the underworld.
Yeah.
I can already see like the level 12, dungeon dive down the road. But some very saucy, like very interesting lore tidbits that Brennan's given us.
Yeah. And I'm just putting all these pieces together. We know that Thiazi stole the stone of Nightsong,
Right.
which is I'm going to use very simple terms here, was the elven ferryman.
Yeah.
By ferryman, for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's like the person that ferries the souls to the afterlife. So that Song of
Yeah.
Nightsong, elven
Well,
ferryman.
well, I don't know if we still know if it's like representative of like the bargain. It certainly doesn't seem to have the same tangible implication as a coffin. Like the coffin for me feels more representative of that celestial, whereas the stone feels more, I don't know, for whatever reason, it feels more metaphorical for me. But it
Yeah.
could absolutely also be, you know,
Well, I'm glad you pointed this out because I did a jump without explaining the jump. We know that the Song of Nightstone was created from or by, I think maybe from makes more sense, the elven celestial that was the ferryman.
oh, yeah. Okay.
So like the
Yeah.
Stone of Nightsong was like an artifact created by that thing or from that thing.
Yes.
And now we have this halfling celestial that served the same purpose, and Thiazi was in possession of both at one point.
Yes.
So was he explicitly trying to find all 7 celestials that was their job? And if so, why? Like again, there's too many like big jumps here to make necessarily, but we know that the humanity killed the gods, a bunch of power hungry houses took over. Since Thiazi was rebelling against these power hungry houses, could we then extrapolate that to I want the gods back? Which we maybe don't go that far. It could just be like I need that power back. And so maybe he's like trying to find these ferrymen to be able to like reclaim some of that power from the veil, or again, maybe potentially even resurrect the gods somehow. I don't know. Might be too far of a
Yeah.
leap, but I feel like there must be something with the veil and potentially the
Yeah.
afterlives, especially because of that lore drop that you brought up about how we don't
Yeah.
know what happened.
Um, moving on from this, I had a segue. Now I can't remember where I wanted to go with it. But speaking of the stone, we have Thimble. Yeah, let's go ahead and just do that, I guess. Thimble, they do go to one of the thieves guilds. I can't remember which one, but she's basically asking about their crow keepers. And I had a question here. So they meet a man. I can't remember who's with her too, by the way.
They go to Caravan Hill, which is where that
Yes.
filament was being delivered, and they go to a
And
tavern there.
Robbie's character's with her.
Yeah, Cadigan
Uh,
and
Cadigan,
Octus.
Octus, thank you. And meet a guy named Solomon,
Mm-hmm.
who's, seems to be well connected, shady figure, and mentions someone they're looking for, fails the persuasion check, and initiative is rolled, and their story ends for the episode there. The name, I thought she said Cass or Casimir, but then I didn't know if she was saying Tassidomir and saying Tass, because Tassidomir is the brother of
Tayor.
Tayor.
Yeah.
So I don't have subtitles on. Was it Cass or Tass?
I didn't have subtitles on either, but I thought it was Cass.
Okay. Who is Casimir?
So Casimir was, we learned about him first in episode 1's cooldown. We learned about him in like a name drop with no context in episode 1.
Okay.
But in the cooldown for episode 1, when Brennan explained the plan to save Thiazi, he said that Casimir was the one who was getting the escape carriage. Talsidamir was the driver of said carriage, Tayor's brother, but Cass is the one who was like facilitating it. And maybe he would have also been there, I don't know, but he was the one like responsible for it, I guess. And then at the beginning of this episode 2, he's the one that saves Thiazi's life in that war flashback. The one like the he throws him over his shoulders and like runs back to the trench.
Yeah.
So they're, I believe, looking for him because, hey man, what went wrong with this plan? Like we haven't heard from Cass or Sid. Like, so I think they're trying to find Cass.
But so name dropping this name, presumably is not a great thing to do, and we're going to get some kind of combat about it.
Yeah.
Or something. But I mean, not much else to add here other than like what was already shared in the episode. Like the players already kind of figured out exactly what you just said and shared, that there was someone on the inside who like leaked this plan or did something. I will say that Cadigan, Robbie had a great moment of spare the dying on Thiazi. This has been this fan theory has already arisen, and some people have commented on our YouTube videos about this, about the theme of birds and like a falcon, and like maybe he wild shaped or cast a spell or something. Not wild shaped, but
I'm not convinced, man.
Well, here's what I'll say. Brennan, do you think Brennan was evasive in his answer?
I mean, not to get too psychoanalytical, but I was thinking I can't remember what he said now, but I remember when I was listening to the episode, he said something of like, oh, wouldn't have that been crazy if y'all called it right here or something like that. And I was like, if that was what was going on and I did not intend to reveal it in this moment, I'd probably say something like that too. I'm like, oh, that would have been crazy. So, I mean, I wouldn't say he was being evasive, but for anyone that's like, oh, that theory's completely gone now, I think that's jumping too far. Like, I think there could still be some mischievousness around Thiazi's death. Like, maybe that's not even his corpse.
It's certainly possible. I feel like Brennan, I'd say I'm 80% there that Brennan answered it, but there is another 20% of me that I'm like, he didn't say the line, Thiazi's dead.
Yeah. And to be clear, if you made me put a percentage on it, I don't think I'm more so, oh, he's definitely alive. But I do think it's a fun possibility that's still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just very quickly, this was another Brennanism that I wrote down from that moment because I loved it. Kind of his, because the whole reason Robbie did it, like you mentioned, was to because he knew how mischievous Thiazi was. He's like, is this one last gambit? And so Brennan said, the trick he's smiling at is that the life he lived led you to believe he might be fooling even about this. And I was like, gosh, like, how do you, like, what a great, just like encapsulation to this whole moment that just happened. Like, yeah, dang.
He had another great one with Laura Bailey, where Thimble like makes a promise that she's like, "I'm going to find who did this." By the way, Laura Bailey's crushing it. Like Thimble is so good,
Yes.
such a fun character. I love the moment with her and Hal of like, "Hey," he said, "Don't be scared," and she's like, I don't get
Yeah.
scared." Like it's perfectly delivered.
Yes.
But like the promise of I'm going to find out, and we got a very Worlds Beyond esque thing here
Yeah.
of Brennan saying, you know, a promise from a fairy is, I can't remember the phrasing, like, but basically very
Yeah.
powerful.
It's like, is
Um,
no small thing, even from such a small thing. Yeah.
yes, that's it. That's it. That was one of my favorite
Yeah. That was
Brennanisms.
great. Yeah. Very witch from Wizard Witch in the
Yes.
Wild One. And just because I didn't mention it earlier, the Celestial in the basement being tortured was very Kassoff collection from
Mm,
Wizard Witch in the Wild One as well. Um,
yeah.
Also, I can't remember exactly the context of how this scene came up, so it might not have been fully improv. And even if it wasn't, it was still amazing. But especially if it was improv, this was incredible. The scene, the flashback scene of Thiazi and Thimble when they first met, uh, just one, the world building that introduced. That like the whose family was it? I guess it was the RNS. Who's what's RNS's family?
With an R. House.
Well, whatever it is, it's not that important. But that family has like a connection with fairies. They're like, fairies have always protected us. So now that you're marrying into this family, here's this
House Royce.
gift. Oh, yes,
House Royce.
House Royce. So it has this deep connection with fairies, and that's why Thimble was a gift to him on his wedding day. And then just like the man's late to his own wedding because he wants to make sure that Thimble has something she likes to wear or something. It was just such a great like heartfelt moment that like really explained their connection.
Yeah, we had another great moment. Think this was the end of episode 1, maybe. Um, maybe I can't remember exactly, but uh, Thimble talking to Valus and being like, you know, what was so great about me and Thiazi was that we were equals. And again, I'm very sorry, y'all. Very Wizard Witch in the Wild One esque of like spirits who are like our great friends, our honorable friends, and yet they are the irony of how they're consistently subdued and put in like positions where someone has power over them. So like the point is like the of Thimble being given as a gift. Like that's and her then having to say like we were equals. Like for me, I'm like, dude, does this world suck? Also, just like we got to just take advantage of every like mystical creature out there, which is another Brennanism, as we just pointed out. But anyway,
Um, Sorry, I was looking at my notes. I lost what I was gonna say.
oh yeah. Well, we're getting through this. We're I don't know how we're gonna make these episodes shorter, man. Every
I mean, I
time,
think it's just because we're at the start of the campaign. Excuse me, where there's so much new information and so much happening at once. Maybe
and
famous
I was
last words, and we'll always feel like we have this much to talk about. But I think especially when we go down to the smaller tables, maybe it won't be so.
well, I was thinking about Critical Role Abridged, and I'm like, dude, what are they gonna cut? Like, there's nothing they can cut from these episodes. Like, they're so
Yeah,
meaty.
yeah. I mean, there's really not much you can from these first ones. It feels like. Um,
Um, I was gonna
Before
move away from this, but go ahead.
um, I was I was moving away as well. Well, one quick thing, I wonder how much the House Royce is floundering with the door to Fairy being closed, considering they had such a strong
Mm,
connection to them. Um,
yeah.
but uh,
Well, and I was gonna add on
yeah,
from this group with Cat again. I wondered if Robbie's playing kind of like tortured soldier,
He seems to
kind of
be.
has the snuff box,
Yeah.
always drunk. I could see a very cool like redemption angle there as
Yeah.
well.
And what happened to him? What sent him on that path? You
Right.
know. Um. Before we potentially wrap things up, I did want to comment, and these kind of go together, but both on what happened with Azune and what happened with Murray at the
Murray.
school.
Yeah.
Um, that being that clearly there are big power moves taking place in this society right now. It's in my notes. I don't have it in front of me, but it's not that important. But we know that with Azune, the leader of one of these houses, maybe not the leader, but an important figure in one of these houses, Einhausen. I'm pulling that out of thin air, but it was something
Yeah.
like that.
I think
Ba-
Einsfar.
Einsfar.
Einsfar?
I think that sounds
Yeah.
right.
House
Um,
Einsfar.
Basically, we know that Azune is an arcane warden, which is, for lack of a better word, he's like a policeman in this city. With his job is to deal with magic, and it seems like magic is being severely cracked down on, which we'll talk more about
Right.
that with Murray and the school. But Azune comes in front of his boss and is basically told, like, hey, all of these police stations are being shut down. They're not doing their job right. Funding is going to go to the more important places. And by the way, that's me. Like this new House Einhausen or whatever is like, I'm going to be in
Yeah.
charge now. So essentially what's happening is that they're privatizing the military force. Like they're letting all of these rich, powerful houses now be in control of the police force, which is a
Right.
recipe for ultimate disaster. Hitting a little too close to home, Brendan. Um, like I don't know. It's a very very intriguing story direction, but like awful. And I think
Well,
Luis even hits the nat 20, and he's like, yeah, this dude is like he's relishing in this.
I love how Luis asked that. How hungry is he?
Yeah.
Just such a great way to put it. Yeah, that and it's just something so sad about it too. Of the Penteveral, for example, as Murray talks to the dean and seemingly her mentor, and
Yeah.
I have definitely felt this way too. Like listening to the dean, I just couldn't help but empathize. Like Brennan had like the line of like, I can literally create things into existence with my words, and like even that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And like people who like step out of positions of authority to let others step in, and you like that little strange feel like, well, who at what point does like someone say enough and
Yeah.
say to stop? But yeah, like the privatization of all of that, it reminds me of also Brennan is so good at this. Is another Brennanism too, because if you think about Divergence, where you had like the little town and you had the guy that they end up like beating up, who's like trying to do like the first landlord
Oh
thing,
yeah.
where he's like going around and like, hey, if you sell me your property, I'll
Yeah.
rent it back to you and I'll keep it all, nice and good.
Yeah.
So this is a very on point thing that Brennan likes to do. And it does hit a little too close to home.
Yeah, which I'm sure is entirely intentional, but yeah,
Mhm.
way too close to home. Like this, like the privatization and consolidation of power in the police force. Again, lack of a better word here, going on in conjunction with taking over the education system. Like they are
Mhm.
now going to control the information and the power. Like they're literally
And
consolidating all of it by, removing the dean of the school and supplanting their
yeah,
own figurehead to be like, this is what you'll teach them now, you know?
and then and then there's this running thread too of like magic's no longer allowed.
Yes.
So like
Yes.
literal consolidation of power there too. Of like there's no magic in the marketplace anymore. We're not going to cast
Yes.
any magic. Um,
And that's
which
how
I'm
they
wondering.
that's how they ousted the dean too, saying like, yeah, you don't have to resign, but if you don't, here's this injunction and you can no longer practice magic at this school. This school for wizards, you can't
Oh
practice magic here.
yes,
And so
yes.
and so he's like, I had to resign because like how we can't have a school. How can we teach the next generation if we can't teach the next generation? Um, but again, as a catch-22, because now they're going to be teaching the next generation the wrong stuff.
And what's we got a lore drop on like the ruling party or like the decision makers.
Yeah, I can't
Which
remember
I
the
can't remember
official. There's like a
the count.
council.
council of something, which seemed like not great people.
Which I'm
But yeah,
assuming is probably just like the heads of all of these houses. Maybe
yeah,
not, but
yeah,
seems like an easy place to go.
yeah. Oh, but there's one other thing with Azune I wanted to mention. Did I follow this right? Like Brennan said, there was something on Thiazi that Azune picked up on, but that it wasn't. He didn't realize it wasn't what he thought it was, or like it was
Yes.
illusory, or what was that whole thing?
I don't. Now that you're saying this, I'm wondering if I missed like an ultra specific explanation of what it was. But the basic explanation was, because you didn't check it, you just did the magical tag to see like, is there a magical item with these properties in it? And it was illusion and conjuration, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
Luis picked that up, and what Brennan was saying was like that was the easy gambit because you sensed illusion, and there was an illusion there, but the illusion was that this thing wasn't there at all. It was just an illusion making you think that that thing was there.
Yes.
That's kind of
Okay, that's right.
complicated, but
No, that makes sense because I was like, well, what was the thing then? And
yeah,
yeah, that tracks. Okay,
I think it
that
was
makes sense.
ultimately just illusory magic. And so there might have been like a physical thing there, but I don't think that it was actually a glyph with a spell in it. And it just had like a different spell, not Misty Step. I think it was just a magical item that was meant to make you think
Mm-hmm.
that the Misty Step glyph was there.
Which again implies that the person who put that there must have had
Yeah,
access to Thiazi
right.
and also knew that Azune would check.
Right.
So
Somebody had to know. And
yeah,
clearly Cass and Sid are priority suspects 1 and 2. And we haven't met Sid. I mean, we haven't met Cass except for in that flashback. But what I'll say is Cass is looking like a good suspect so far, because especially with that establishing scene of him being this hero who saved Thiazi's life, I think it would be a
yeah,
nice kind of parallel to be like, oh, he's the one that betrayed him, and we had to figure out
yeah,
what changed there.
yeah,
So the same,
yeah.
you could make that same argument for Sid potentially, but we didn't get a heroic flashback of Sid, so I'm leaning Cass right now.
We hate Sid.
Yeah, we
So
do.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else as we wrap up this
Yeah.
episode.
I'm gonna
So
quickly
dense.
scan my notes, but yeah, continue.
Well, I mean, like I said, just so dense, and definitely let us in the comments. Let us know in the comments other things we might have missed, or some of your favorite theories that you're. We don't. I mean, you don't need to like regurgitate. Like I saw. Here's the thread on this. But if you have a particular theory that you like or that you've been thinking about, you can drop it in the comments down below. And other than that, anything in your notes, Will?
I don't think so. This
One
is.
last thing.
Or go ahead.
I was gonna say one very last detail, and I don't remember. We may have already talked about this last episode, but I can't remember. But you did mention the God of War effectively. Um, so just for clarity's sake, make sure I'm on the same page. The God of War created the orcs.
Mm-hmm.
The orcs were like, "Hey, our lives suck
Mm-hmm.
compared to a lot of other people, and we don't like that. So we're
Yeah.
gonna fight you." And then the other gods were like, "Well, wait a second. It's not really cool to fight one of the gods."
Yeah.
Which, and then everyone kind of got involved, and there are people on the god side, whatever. But that's effectively what the Shapers' War was,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And nice segue. We know what was revealed in this episode is that it was the Loy family, which is Taisha Loy, Abria's character, the Loy family of orcs who built who forged the weapons that killed the god of war. So like they figured out a way to fight the gods, and um that's why the museum that Belair works in, he's the curator for the Loy wing.
Mm.
So like Abria comes from a very prestigious or at least famous orcish lineage here. Which could explain kind of she didn't seem to be like ultra high society, like in terms of like a Halavar or something, but like she definitely was more prim and proper because there was that joke in season or not season 1, episode 1 about like the rich people, and Taisha and Arnessa were like, we're rich or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But yeah, I
Okay.
think that's pretty much all I got.
Well, let us know if we forgot anything. Obviously, these episodes are very dense to get through, but I know I'm really enjoying it.
Me too.
Like we said, watch party Thursday night. Come and join us if you like Critical Role.
Yeah.
And then our live stream Friday afternoon. So thank you all for watching, and I think that'll do it.
See you soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye.